It is 9 o'clock. We call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Are there any additions to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I have several additions, if I may. On the consent agenda, please add under item 2, Commissioners' warrants, add-on warrants of $7,317.27, 73-17-27. At the 9:30 time slot, the last item I have in there, the 2022 County Board of Adjustment Equalization meeting date. Delete that. That will be taken care of at the January 4th meeting, so you can scratch that from the agenda. And at 10:15, when Casey Siebiter is here, she is also going to request an out-of-state travel request, which I have placed in your packets for testing of a EMT to be a paramedic. And that, Mr. Chairman, is all I have for additions.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, with those additions and no other corrections, I'll move the agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda, the minutes from our TNT meeting, our regular meeting, the commissioner warrants, auditors warrants, and hospital warrants.
Mr. Chair, move for approval.
Second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Nick?
Good morning. All right, first up for me today is request to make final payment for our second box culvert contract for 2021. This payment would be to Henning Construction out of Adrian for $6,412.01. These culverts were located, one was on County Road 8 west of Holland, and the other was about a mile northwest of that. Projects went good. The big one on County Road 8 was actually the largest in the state for a couple months. Somebody, I can't remember, I think it was up north, ended up putting a bigger one in a couple months later, but we had the record for a while, so. As you see, this one ended up coming in a little under contract price. Main reasons for that was it took less erosion control than what we had planned for. This comes up regularly. How that happens is we are required by the MPCA to stabilize the ditch bottom for 200 feet each way of the culvert. So that's 4 corners, each side of the stream on each side of the road. If the contractor is careful, they don't tear that much up, so it's natural vegetation, so there's no need to do it. So we run into that regularly, and this was one of those cases. Another thing that happened on this one was the landowner did have time to do their own fence. We run into that a lot. Since we can't tell them exactly when the project's going to happen, they can't tell us if they'll have time to do the fence or not. So we paid the landowner to do their own fence instead of the contractor. So those are the main items. There's always a few little things here and there, but the bulk of the difference in the final price was for those 2 items.
I'd move for approval.
Okay,
I'll second.
any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Right, next request for board action is to make final payment for the 5th contract for the 2021 box culverts. This payment would be to Midwest Contracting out of Marshall for the amount of $3,808.83. These culverts were up in the Ruthven area. One was on County Road 88 east of Ruthven. Another was on County Road 89 west of Ruthven. And the last one was southeast of Ruthven on the Murray County line.
That would have been in Etna Township.
Yeah. Oh, yep. That's typo. That should have been Etna. Yep, you're right. Yep, I wrote Altona Township, but that's actually Etna. So that one came in a little under the original contract amount as well. And it was the same reason on those. Reduced erosion control needed, and some landowners did their own fencing.
I'd move for approval. Second. Okay, motion second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, my next request for board action is to make final payment for the County Road 13 widening project to Central Specialties in the amount of $36,473.44. That one came in a little over budget. Main items of difference there, we ended up doing some extra tree removal. We underran on shouldering, but we overran on bituminous. Those are about offsetting costs. We put in an additional driveway culvert we didn't originally have in the plans, and a pavement incentive, which I always like paying because that means we got a good product. So, yeah. Outside of that, that one's wrapped up too. Then.
Mr. Chair, move for approval.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
My next final payment request comes for the Indian Lakes Trail project and CASA 30 overlay. This would be to Central Specialties out of Alexandria, Minnesota, an amount of $58,432.55. As you can see, this one came in a little more than $100,000 over the original contract amount. The reason for that here would be the bituminous was about $50,000 over. If you're familiar with that road, the part past the water treatment plant got pretty wavy. We ended up doing some leveling on there. That went a little, that took a little more than we expected. We ended up putting additional, let's stop a second there. We ran into some really bad base. I believe I brought that up during the project just so to make you all aware that we're going to have to deal with it and it's going to cost. So, in dealing with that bad base, we spent almost $3,000 on fabric, over $12,000 on with backhoe hours. That included digging out just muck, bad material. We filled that in with class 5 and this bedding rock, which are the next two items down. That filled those voids to firm things up. And then we added some additional tile to help dry things out. For example, one of the spots was on top of a hill. We had water coming up. Like, I'm just not used to having water problems on top of a hill, but it was a unique job, so we had to deal with it, and it seems to be holding up well, so I think we got it. So yeah, the majority of these costs were due to that poor soil out there, but I think we got it now, so.
Mr. Chair, I'll move that we approve the $58,432.55 payment to Central Specialties for the Indian Lakes project.
Okay,
Second.
any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, my last item, I know it might look a little odd that I'm here to request board action to buy tires, but they're getting so expensive now, they've exceeded that threshold that requires board action, so that's why I'm here. Nothing unique about these, it's just they're getting so expensive that per the county's purchasing policy, I need board approval to purchase this item.
I would move for approval.
Okay,
I will second.
okay, and that would include paying as an auditor's warrant?
Yes, yep, I put that in there. We can we can strike that out if you don't want that, but
That's fine.
usually, okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, well, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right. Any other questions for me? Otherwise, that'll do it for me for now.
One question, I guess, for you on this matter here. Going forward, is this gonna be a hindrance for you, or do we need to look at maybe changing our policy a little bit?
For the tires,
Yeah. Does this come up quite often?
part of it is because of the quantity. You know, we got 2 motor graders that have wore out tires on them at the same time. If this was 1 motor grader, it'd be 6,000. A couple winters ago, we had a really bad winter, and we moved cutting edges to the auditor's warrant list just because we were going through them so fast. You know, we needed them that quick. I still kind of like the transparency with the board. I don't think I want to necessarily take cutting edges off that list just in case we run into that situation again. But even though they're on the list, if we have time, I'll probably still bring that back to the board. I'll only use that as
What I was thinking
almost
is
like an
with
emergency
inflation,
type tool.
you know,
But
with things costing so much more, if we need to adjust that dollar threshold, or if it's not a hindrance for you, because I do like transparency as well, too.
yeah,
It doesn't-
I would probably say let's leave it alone for now, and if it becomes a problem in the future, maybe we revisit. If it was changed and put on that list, I would probably still bring it to the board, you know. But I don't see that the tires, you know, usually you can see when you got a tire problem coming unless there was some type of incident where we ran something over on the highway or something and wrecked, you know, 8 of them at once or something like that. But, you know, I don't really know what that would be either, so.
You'd think after the first 4, it wouldn't happen again.
Well, I'm thinking like a tandem truck
Yeah.
hitting a spike strip, you know, but I don't know why there'd be a spike strip on the road, but, you know. So I can't think of a scenario where it would come up where we'd need it in that short of notice, you know. So I don't think we need it at this time with the tires, but if that price keeps going up, maybe we'll have to revisit that too then. But for now, I don't
See what another year brings.
Yeah, we'll keep it in mind, and if it becomes an issue, maybe we'll talk about it, but otherwise I don't see any reason to change it right now, so.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
All right, sounds good.
Amanda? Morning.
Good morning. So what I have for you today is the 2020 restricted and assigned fund balance accounts that the auditors, normally those get approved prior to this, but the auditors had found that it hadn't gotten approved. So I went through and double checked the information that Tyler had prepared. I did make a few changes, but for the most part, everything was fine. The couple things I would point out is the restricted for the enhanced 911 does have a negative because there was a equipment purchase. So that should be a timing issue, and I would anticipate next year that will go back to the positive. It was a like $63,000 project or equipment purchase that was purchased. And then in the assigned accounts, the ambulance and the school resource officer, both of those, for the most part, everything related on these accounts are related to revenue and expenses, except for those 2. I just highlighted those just to point them out that those are specific annual allocated amounts or that we put into that assigned just so that we can, assign those funds for future purposes. So the ambulance amount was that $75,000, and then the school resource officer, because there were other expenses, that amount, the annual amount was $26,000, but on your report it just shows the net effect, so. Anyway, but yes, and I guess if there's any other questions you guys have on the adjustments.
Need a motion to approve?
So move.
Yep, and I'll second.
Any discussion?
Just comment, this is a really nice report. This is very easy to read and really, thank you.
All right,
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Chris and Dan. Right? Chris and Dan,
Yes.
motion second.
Yes.
Yep.
We have a personnel.
Morning.
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 The item I have for the board this morning is the piece I handed out this morning from Gallagher. It has draft on it, but it is the final analysis. So this was for the IT analyst job description that was sent in to get rated. They did recommend changing the job title to match our organization's job titles a little bit better. And they recommended changing it to senior information technology technician. So senior IT tech. It's a little bit of a mouthful, but I think Bill was okay with it. And then they recommended a rating change to B24. So it's a 2 pay range increase from the IT tech position. They did also review Bill's IT director job description and felt that it was still appropriately rated. So that one did not change. So the first sheet is what was presented by Gallagher as their analysis of the job description. And then I did staple our current pay plan and the current pay and recommended pay for Bridget Hartman now will be classified as a senior IT technician starting January 1st, 2022. And this is the 2022 pay plan as well. So I've highlighted there on B22 where she's currently at, and then on B24 where the recommendation is. This was Bill's recommendation and then also was ran through the personnel committee for an approval. So I would be seeking board approval of the rating of B24 for the senior IT technician position, and then B, the placement of Bridget Hartman on step E of the pay plan starting 1/1/22. And that can be all together, I think.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion that we approve these changes to the IT technician, senior IT technician position.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have to wait till 9:30 for the salaries, or we can just move forward? Okay.
No, move forward.
And we're looking at setting the elected salaries, starting with the county attorney. I guess I would move that we set the sheriff's salary, or the county attorney's salary at, $85,782 for 2022.
Okay, I will second that motion and also explain that this has been what Demaine Sandy, our attorney, has put in his budget and has recommended, or suggested, I should say. And this would amount to a 5% increase.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, for the county sheriff,
Or did you want to do as assistant?
oh yeah, I suppose we should.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, I'll move that we approve the recommendation for the assistant county attorney then at $59,484. That'd be a 5% increase.
I would second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, for the sheriff. I'd move that we set the sheriff's salary at $103,500. It's a 5.75% increase and gets him into the comparable range of sheriffs in the district.
I
Second.
would second.
Oh, for the less.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Again, realizing that it is not the same 5% as the others that we just did, but there's good reason for it. We need to stay within the range, so I'm very comfortable with this.
Whoa. Yeah, it looks like he's kind of toward the
Uh-oh.
low end of the range.
This crash?
The program crashed?
Something crashed.
Yeah, I might want to get Bill on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Bridget, if you would be nice to have him come and check it out for me.
Make her earn her new classification.
Which don't start until next week.
Any discussion on the sheriff's salary? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. County recorder,
Mr. Chair, I move to set the annual salary to $84,498, which is a 5.01 increase.
And I will second that.
okay, the motion second, any discussion? That didn't sound good. Okay, any discussion on the salary? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Set non-union employee COLA.
Mr. Chairman, I'd recommend that be set at 2.5%.
Mr. Chair, I move for approval with 2.5%.
And I will second that.
Okay. Any discussion?
Just as a reminder, that is in line with the union
Right.
increases as well, so across the board, we're 2.5 for 22.
Right.
And that'll be the second year of our contract with the union, which those have been settled.
Okay. Any further discussion? None? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we did the assistant county attorney already. The commissioners.
I would make a motion that we take the 2.5% to keep up with the unions.
Okay, which would be 22,734. I would second that motion. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I feel very strongly that we are very generously compensated by the citizens, and I know we didn't take an increase last year, and I know the concerns about not getting behind is a phrase I've heard before. Again, I feel that we are not employees, that this is a stipend that we receive, and especially considering the other benefits that we receive, specifically health insurance. I feel that we really should not take any increase at all. I feel that the 22,171 that we received last year is adequate.
Do you think your service is somewhat less than other elected officials, or?
Our other elected officials, this is their primary job. This is not our primary job. We're here to serve the citizens, so I just don't think in good conscience that I could vote to increase the, I'm not gonna say salary, but the stipend that we receive from the citizens.
I would like to think that all elected officials are serving the citizens.
Absolutely. But this isn't our primary source of income. We are part-time.
Depends how hard you work, I guess.
No, that's not fair. That's a very unfair statement to make.
It's pretty demanding at times. Any other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-1. We have to wait till 10 for the recognition, I assume? Have you
Yes,
heard
and
from
I'm
him?
still waiting for confirmation that he's able to make it today, so they are gonna call me back prior to 10.
Okay. Suppose we'll have to take a recess then to,
Is there anything else?
Mr. Chairman, do you want to recess?
yeah, we'll recess till 10.
That was a good shot.
Don't like that phone.
And how long has he been here?
43 years.
43, wow.
That's impressive.
Okay.
Okay, we
Mr.
can
Chairman, we're back.
reconvene. First, we're gonna begin with recognizing our Assistant County Attorney Scott Perduson, who has been with us for 43 years. And we sure appreciate that longevity and that length of service. Fortunately, he is not with us today. Must be still busy, working right till the end. But yeah, we certainly want to express our appreciation for the many years of service. Any other?
Mr. Chairman, Scott will be presented with a plaque and a notice of appreciation from the county for his years of service that he worked for Pipestone County.
Great.
We wish him well in his future.
Yes.
Is he gonna maintain office hours at all yet with the firm, do you know, or is he said?
Mr. Chair, I believe so. I did run into his wife a few weeks back and, wanted to send my congratulations on him, and she had mentioned that he'll probably still work a little less, not quite as much, but he'll still keep working, so.
Okay. And Casey's not here yet. Can we do the levy and budget?
We certainly can.
Okay.
Time to do that. Mr. Chairman, board members, you have in your packets copies of the final 22 final budget and levy resolution 594321 and 594421. After the TNT meeting that we had, I've been planning this for a while, but we had one change that I made to the data processing budget, the 063. I transposed a number in there, and instead of, I had 109,100 in there, and it's supposed to be 101,900. So I reduced the levy by $7,200 for that department. So that brought our levy increase down to 8.62 versus 8.72 as we presented at the TNT meeting. So my recommendation to the board would be to approve the budget and levy at an 8.62% increase, and total budget for the county, $21,410,616. So I had 3 sheets there for you. One is the budget resolution, 43. Final levy taxes payable is 44, and then just had a single sheet there, just going through what our revenue and expenses are, so we can see what our budget is. So it's my recommend to the board approving resolution 594321, followed by 594421 as well.
Can that be done as one?
Sure.
Mr. Chair, I move for approval.
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Other than just appreciate all the hard work that our staff and administrator have done on this. It's not an easy job. Appreciate the work you guys do.
Thank you. It's pretty much 6 months.
Yep.
6 months of the year we're working on this, so.
You started over pretty quick.
Yep, right time to start over again.
Might also be a good time to, again, to point out that fiscally that the county is doing very well. We don't have any debt. That's something we can certainly be proud of.
Right, and we're not spending out of reserves in this budget.
Nope.
And with our 1% last year, we're still, averaging around 5 year on year.
Yep. Year in, year out, about 5%. And the departments did a very good job in 21 of keeping the expenses down as well too, noting that we did take a small increase. So we've done well.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Casey, here, yeah, pause it.
Okay, we'll take a brief recess until Casey gets here.
Okay.
All right, we can reconvene. Casey? Morning.
Morning.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Thank you for having me. I have 3 items I'm seeking approval on. I asked Steve to add one yesterday. We'll jump right into it. The first one is for they approved the fee for the ambulance service increase for 2022 and beyond. In the additional documentation and whatnot, these recommendations are based on what Transmedic Billing is proposing for us that they feel would benefit us the best and whatnot. There really aren't big adjustments, but especially with the mileage going from $14.60 a loaded mile to $18 per loaded mile, that probably would have the biggest impact on us with transfers and whatnot. But we're very happy with Transmedic Billing. They've done a wonderful job for us. Our revenues have, shot through the roof since we have gone on board with them and whatnot. And considering they are the billing experts, I would recommend that we follow their advice and adopt these new service fees.
Mr. Chair, I'll move that we adopt the service increases to the fees that Casey has brought forward.
Would second.
Okay, any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, just one. Casey, does this keep us in alignment with Medicare reimbursement rates?
It does, according to what Transmedic
Okay,
has.
good.
And isn't that really the biggest one of the huge advantages of Transmedic is with the complexity of Medicare, Medicaid to keep
Yes.
us all in line with that?
And with CMS standards, because that kind of sets the whole platform for all reimbursements across the board, really.
So I'm guessing that's a pretty high percentage of your reimbursement.
It is, yes. I would say Medicare and Medicaid are for sure our biggest payers.
Right. Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The second item that I have is, just adjusting and some slight increases for the volunteer stipend, pay scales and whatnot. A few months ago, I put in a application for what's called a hardship variance with the EMSRB, the governing EMS board in Minnesota. And what that allows is to have a emergency medical responder, formerly known as a first responder, can drive for us as long as we have either an EMT or a paramedic in the back. That's allowed us to bring on a couple of the deputies who are currently certified as EMRs, and they can drive for us then. It's just expanded our options a little bit. We also have an AEMT, or what is referred to as an advanced EMT. It's in between an EMT and a paramedic. There are a few additional things that they can do beyond the scope of what an EMT can do, but not as much as a paramedic. And with the call reimbursement pay, that's why I have it laid out to have the student or EMT student / associate member, the EMR, the EMT, the AEMT, and the paramedic. So there's a pay scale recognizing each provider's skill level and training level. And the standby pay, what we found, actually yesterday for the first time ever, we've hit over 1,000 calls now. Our previous record was 952 in 2019, and we are now sitting at 1,004. So with that, and with state statute mandating that we cover our primary service area or our PSA when we're taking transfers, we have kind of implemented like a primary crew, which is the one that's always on call, and then a secondary 911 crew, where if the primary crew is on a transfer, the secondary crew is there to respond to 911s and cover our PSA to ensure that it is covered for emergencies. And then a tertiary or transfer crew, and that's only for when we have multiple transfers pending at the same time, if we can get an additional crew together. So those call standby pay is prorated accordingly, and our eventually our goal would be to kind of staff the 911 crew at least for nights and weekend nights the majority of the time, because when we are setting up these transfers, which by state standards a lot of them are not considered emergent unless it's life or limb, we have to set up and make phone calls in the middle of the night or text messages and put out pleas to try to get people to cover backup before we can legally take these transfers. So that's the purpose of the primary, secondary, and tertiary crews, and why I'm requesting kind of a prorated pay scale. We didn't change the call pay for the primary crew or anything. It's the same $4 and $4.50 an hour for weekends and holidays that it has been since the last update, which was in 2017. I think that's pretty well in line with other agencies in the region, and we're still probably at the leading pay for volunteer stipends, I mean, in the Southwest region of Minnesota and whatnot. But I'm just asking for recognition, I guess, of the secondary and tertiary crews too. So you guys have any questions or want any clarification on that? I know that was kind of a lot of information really quick.
So did we not give the secondary and tertiary?
We didn't really staff it before. We relied on all calls and, I mean, hoping and praying that people would show up. But since our numbers have dwindled, there are fewer people to respond to the all calls. So that's why we're kind of turning to asking people to staff these backup crews when needed.
Mr. Chair, I move for approval.
Okay,
I will second that.
okay, any discussion?
Hey, Mr. Chairman, just want, Casey, how many transfers have we had this year? Any idea?
I don't think I brought those numbers
Approximately,
with
just-
me. Probably over 300 at this point.
And is that
That are
included in
close.
your 1,004 calls?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. It's I'm thinking close to 300. It kind of slowed down in the past month or so, but
So on average, you have about 2 calls a day and 1 transfer a day, roughly.
Pretty close to that. I mean, it ebbs and flows, of course, too. There's days where we have several transfers and
Right,
a half a dozen calls, and days where we see nothing.
yeah.
No. I'm the old dog, but I remember when we thought we were busy when we did 350 runs a year.
Yeah.
And now we're over 1,000 runs a year when Casey's running this. I mean, you're doing 300 transfers, you're getting close to a transfer a day anymore.
It is. And I mean,
It's a very busy service here. You wouldn't think it would be, but they're very busy.
and I mean, the transfers happen all throughout the night. So I mean, you know, with the state statute and whatnot, we've arranged, I mean, among the full-time staff, where we have a phone that's solely for setting up transfers and these secondary and tertiary crews if need be. Because a lot of them happen in the middle of the night, and we can't expect our volunteers to try to set these things up and deal with that. I mean, that's not their job, so that's what, we're just kind of taking a week at a time call with this phone. And, I mean, we each work through it and deal with setting up transfers, but if we can get secondary crews on at night, that eliminates a lot of trying to make phone calls and beg people in the middle of the night.
Mhm.
And it gets the transfers out the door and the patients down to where they need to be sooner, so.
Right. Any other questions or comments? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The last thing is requesting out-of-state travel for Carl Combe. He needs to do a trauma assessment test out, and the closest exam, because these are very few and far between, we have found, is located in Rapid City on January 13th. He would just go out there for this exam. It's a psychomotor exam, and that's the last step, and he will have his paramedic once this is complete. So I'm just requesting approval for him to go out there and likely get a hotel room the night before, and then he'll return after the test.
Move to approve.
Go ahead.
Okay, motion.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion?
Just grateful that he's going through this and we have another certified EMS.
I know, me too. It's a pretty intense program, so I'm very
So
proud
then
of
he'll
it.
be a paramedic?
Yes.
And how
Then-
many will we have then?
We, on the full-time staff, we will have 4, and then additionally beyond that, we have 4 also.
Great.
That's
believe.
good.
That's great.
So, yes, we're doing very well with that.
Excellent. Any other comments? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I take the opportunity to thank Casey and her entire staff. It's-
Thank them. They're
you
the,
talk about how busy you've been in the service. Excuse me. And I think it's one of those situations where we don't truly appreciate what we've got until it's gone.
Right.
You make it run so well. If we didn't have this, we would be in dire straits.
it is everybody.
Yep.
We have a phenomenal full-time staff as well as volunteers, and they're really the glue that keeps it all together and moving as it should, so we're,
Seamless is a
very
good term.
fortunate.
You make it seamless. We appreciate that.
it appears that way sometimes. I wouldn't go that far, but.
Can you think of anything that we can do? Again, I realize with the demographics, how it's changed and so forth, the number of volunteers, but we need to keep this in the forefront of people's mind that there's a need here, and anything we can do to continue to support it.
You know, I don't know. I mean, that'd be a good question. I would think continually talking about it and whatnot. I mean, like, you know, we presented to Kiwanis a while back and whatnot, but I mean, as long as we can keep it in people's minds and whatnot, that, I mean, it is a need, and, I mean, I don't ever want to see it not be a community
Yeah.
planted, county-owned service and whatnot. I just don't feel that if it was outsourced, you would get the same care, and certainly not as many of the local individuals being a part of it as you do now. So I think, I mean, the big thing is trying to just talk about it and keep it in people's minds, and, I mean, just continuing to support it and knowing that we'll have to keep evolving as it gets busier. I don't foresee our numbers going down anytime soon.
Job fairs. Have you ever had a booth at any of the job
We
fairs?
have,
Yeah.
yep. We haven't, and I don't know if like Minnesota West or anywhere else has had any recently, but the last time they did have one that we know of anyway, pre-COVID, we did go out there and had a booth. So, but I don't know, it's kind of just an interesting demographic. I mean, a lot of people don't understand what EMS entails. And I think that's probably one of the big hindrances. So, I mean, we always encourage ride-alongs and whatnot. And, I mean, we are still moving forward. I was just talking about it with Danielle this morning, getting our own in-house education program going. So then we're hoping to be able to reach out to the school a little bit more and collaborate with them. So, it's a really fun field if people give it a chance. So.
Well, we sure extend our thanks and appreciation to you and all your staff and volunteers and whatnot.
Thank you all. We appreciate your support.
For sure. Keep me advised of how that's going with the education program. If that moves ahead, we'll have to make sure we let MCIT know to make sure we're got proper coverage for that, since
will.
we'll be doing education.
We plan on meeting with Dr. Savio after the first of
Perfect.
the year again, so we'll revive the progress that we've made on it thus far.
Good.
So,
Well, thank you.
all right, thank you guys very much.
Bet. Recess again. 10:45, which will be a closed session for pending litigation. Okay, yeah, reconvene, and this is, we're gonna have to have a motion to go into closed session regarding pending litigation.
I would so move.
Yep, and I will second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay,
Then, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we direct County Attorney Sandy to send a letter then to this firm addressing this suit, stating our position that we feel that we do not have any culpability here, and we'll point out the verbiage and so forth in the contract that supports our position.
Second.
okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Anything else to come before us today?
Just one quick question.
Mhm.
How fast do you want me to get this done?
Before
Are
next
you
year.
okay with me waiting until next week so we can get end of the year stuff done?
Certainly, especially considering the fact that December 8th was their deadline. We haven't heard anything back from them, so.
Right.
Well, I can always do a courtesy email to the other attorney saying a response will be coming. Thank
Yeah.
you for your
Oh.
patience.
That's fine.
I
Yeah.
think it'd be up to your discretion,
Okay,
Wayne.
yeah. But I mean, with end of the year stuff coming up, it's really hard to find any time to do anything. So, and plus I got a brief due. We had a trial here on a termination of parental rights about 3 weeks ago, and the judge gave us until Thursday to submit closing argument or proposed findings. So that has to get done too. So that's unfortunately going to take priority.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, just a couple notes. January 4th, organizational meeting here at 9 a.m. First regular board meeting of the month on the 11th, followed by a regular board meeting on the 25th.
Mr. Chair, I move to adjourn.
Second?
okay, all those in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much, Happy New Year, and
Happy New Year to everybody, too.
Stay home, stay safe, right?
yeah.
Thank you.